This is the order to cash model. You guys have probably seen this. Maybe some of you use it in your day-to-day work. It's quite a linear process. The risk with the linear process is that learning is difficult because it creates almost this cliff edge effect. So everything that happens throughout the process falls off the edge of the cliff and you can't get it back once it's gone. A lot of our competitors use something like this to govern their product strategy. So you'll see this often on their websites. They'll talk about it in blog posts. And I mean, that's okay. It's not wrong. They then use the various activities as a checklist of sorts, and they try and build solutions, use cases, products to address as many of these bullet points as possible. And that's totally fine. But it's not really good enough, in our opinion. And at Billwerk, we look at things a little differently. What if it's not a linear process? What if it's a cycle? And what if it's better than a cycle? What if it's a feedback loop that gets better and better and better and more efficient the more often that it runs? So what we think about is the same 4 stages, but in a cyclical effect, where the outputs from one stage become inputs to the next. And then as that cycle repeats and refines, it gets better and better and more efficient. And that's what we think is going to propel Billwerk and our customers to subscription optimization rather than orchestration or automation or management or some of those kind of earlier models that I mentioned. So at the various stages, some of the things that we think are the most important activities are things like self-sign-up and self-service. So when there are so many different options for customers, differentiating your offering by giving them a really amazing user experience, by giving them self-service options, by putting the power in their hands, can be a real differentiator for you. So if someone wants to change their plan, I mean, who here enjoys being on hold with their internet service provider to upgrade or downgrade your plan or to ask a question? It is literally the worst way I can think of to spend my time. With us, we can give you kind of seamless hosted pages. You can put all that power in your customers' hands. You can allow them to effectively manage their own account. That then becomes a differentiator for you versus your competitors. We also really look towards things like omni-channel communication. So, phone calls and posted letters are okay. They're somewhat effective, but really having various touch points with your customers and knowing the best way to contact them in a context-sensitive way, be it through email, push notifications, social media, whatever that might be. Again, that is really going to differentiate your business versus the competitors. Why post someone a letter when you can send them a WhatsApp? It's 2024, so we really need to think about where the market is going and how people want to interact with their service providers today. And that's relevant for both B2B and B2C. At the order to cash stage, we have an inbuilt payment gateway. We have our very own payment product, and we really focus on putting the best choice of local payment methods at the customer's disposal. So, really offering the customer the best choice, the lowest fees, again, is really going to differentiate you rather than just saying you can pay by Visa or PayPal. That's okay in some markets, but we really want to own the European market, and in order to do that, we need to be able to offer European customers the best local payment methods for them. In cash to accounting, typically this has just been about accounts payable, accounts receivable, making sure you get paid, and obviously that's important. If you can't get paid, your business is not going to last very long, and we still want to enable you to do that. But what we also want to really begin tapping into are things like revenue recognition, because this is a huge challenge in the subscription business in particular, and we know that a lot of subscription companies have mixed plans where there's a sort of a physical good, maybe a streaming stick that the customer has. Then there's plans, some of which are contracted, there's different notice periods, etc. So for the finance person, revenue recognition under these circumstances gets quite tricky quite quickly. So automating all of that and making it very seamless and very straightforward for the finance person in the business is a big, big focus for us. And actually the finance person can often be forgotten. They're not always a decision maker when purchasing a system like Billwerk, but finance people have feelings too, despite what you may have heard. So it's very important that we're nice to them and that we make them feel loved as well. And then this is where the magic starts to happen. So in the previous linear model, this was the sort of the final step in the process. This was the cliff edge. So everything that we're learning about our customers, everything that we have gathered right throughout their onboarding cycle, right through to the point of where they become a very happy and healthy customer, is falling off the edge of the cliff. And then we're hitting and hoping, we're repeating the same marketing campaigns, we're running the same ads, we're targeting the same people, but we don't really know if it's working or not, and we're not refining that over time. But what if we could do things like leverage predictive analytics to manage churn? So based on a customer's interaction with you, based on how often they're using the system, based on their behaviors, can we look at that and say, well, the last 10 customers that exhibited these types of behaviors churned within 90 days. Like, that's a very, very useful data point. It's a very, very useful trigger action for a customer success team, for example, because as I already mentioned, it is infinitely easier to prevent an unhappy customer from churning than it is to win them back. And it's even more difficult, again, to go and acquire a new customer to replace the one that has just churned. So being able to predict churn in advance and being able to take action before the bad thing happens is very, very powerful, and really, really puts your business in a strong position. And then the other things like customer lifecycle management, retention workflows, loyalty and retention, really making customers feel loved, because it's never been easier to move from provider to provider. So if you can really differentiate yourself, really make a customer feel an attachment to the product or service that you're providing, you're going to maximize your lifetime value and ultimately maximize your own profits at the end of the day. And then things like in our Analyze platform, which the team are working on, we want to build things like custom report builders. So, really putting the power in the end user's hand, really delivering them actionable insights. And the way we envisage this is that our Analyze product, which is our reporting product, should be the first thing that everybody looks at on a Monday morning with their coffee. And it's not the type of dashboard that you look at, you shrug your shoulders and you go about your day. It's the type of dashboard that you look at and you plan your day around it, because it's telling you the most pressing things that you need to address in your business. It's pointing you in the right direction. These customers are at risk of churn. These things are happening in your business. You need to take action or there's going to be negative consequences. Knowing that before it happens is immensely powerful and immensely differentiating for you.